Hi there, my name is Ian Wright. This little podcast is called Staying Cool When It's Hot. It's a coolness meditation, and I'm doing it primarily for my daughter Mia Bella, who's 14, and who is hot in school this week. So it got me to thinking about pulling together a few little tricks and techniques around staying cool when it's hot, which actually can also mean staying cool when the energy is hot and everything gets a little exciting or overwhelming. It means the same thing, because actually heat is energy. And when we overheat, there's too much energy. And we need to learn ways of rebalancing this. Some of these tricks I learned on travels in the African desert. And I spent 6 months in Central America studying the shaman and spent a lot of time in the heat and just did a couple of natural things to try and, stay cool. I suppose the biggest teacher of all of us is nature. Reptiles are cold-blooded, so they don't actually produce internal heat. So actually, often some of the nocturnal lizards, etc., they actually lie in the sun to maintain their heat, to generate energy from the external. Mammals are warm-blooded, of course, so they have to adapt in a different way, and I think we can learn from them. For example, there's a lot of small desert mammals, little rodents, etc., who tend to be more nocturnal. They're active at night because it's too hot in the day, and they burrow in the day. They burrow down deep, and they barely move. So they minimize their water loss, so they're not needing a constant supply of water, because water is the number one thing. When we are hot, we need to make sure we are not dehydrated. I'm constantly saying this to my son, the twin of Mia Bella Dylan, who is out playing sport in the heat, and he gets overwhelmed and he's dehydrated. And we have to, number one, maintain hydration, obviously. But what actually I think we can learn from mammals is this way of pulling our energy in and minimalizing external function movements. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. Our temperature regulation, our thermoregulation, in part comes from the thalamus, which is a very important area. For me, it's a very important area of the brain around the third ventricle, which is the center of a lot of different things. The third ventricle is surrounded by the thalamus on both sides. It has the hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal glands. So it's it's right in the center of the brain, and it regulates a lot of things. It's the center of kind of our hormonal, emotional connections to our neurological and immune systems are all regulated in this small area, and our temperature regulation. So it's a key area. I'll talk about that another time. I lecture on that. So our temperature regulation is governed by these higher centers, and obviously the most important areas physiologically are skin. All the hair that's on our skin helps us thermally regulate. Sweating cools our system down but dehydrates us. So our water regulation, our kidneys are very, very important in that as well. So we have all of these systems for regulating our temperature, because we have to maintain a very specific temperature, 37. And if we don't, we start to become ill. We get a temperature, and when our temperature rises, and that's the danger in very hot temperatures, where the elderly and the young find it difficult to thermoregulate. And I think it's very important. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end, because I think it's very important to maintain temperature. So I just want to bring in a couple of other things. This idea of our perception of how we are is very, very important. How we feel we are. This idea, it's called interoception, meaning it's our kind of felt sense of how we feel. This is governed by a kind of feedback from our skins, for example, and our organs. For example, the pancreas governs a sense of this internal feeling. There's internal proprioceptors and various other interoceptors in the body that give us this kind of feeling sense of how we feel. These kind of senses, like pain, etc., etc., and tension and heat and coldness. And all of these senses, these interosenses, are filtered through the higher centers of our brain, which contain and are managed through a kind of screen and filter of our thoughts and our beliefs. So we can regulate actually how our brain body regulates temperature through our thoughts, feelings, and doing sensory perception exercises, which is an area where I'm particularly interested in. I talk about all this a lot more in the book that I've written called The Dynamics of Stillness, but we'll come back to all of that. But what here we're doing is this idea of staying cool when it's hot. So I'm going to go through a little meditative process here, a little process that you can try and enjoy and see if you like it. Okay. So at the beginning, I want you to sit quietly. You can do this in the heat, but obviously it's better to do it in the shade, in the quiet of the shade, so you can find a quiet space for yourself. And it doesn't have to be hot outside, because these techniques, you can use it in the opposite direction, as in if you're too cold, or if you're irritable. Irritability is heat. If you just need to calm yourself down and you're angry. Angry is heat, actually. Feels like heat in the body, doesn't it, anger? It's amazing. So we're going to start by using some tools that will help us regulate and rebalance. The first is our breath, and our breath can be used in many guises as a way into meditation. It's very important and has been used in countless different traditions as a way in. So here I'm going to use it in a particular way. So what we'll do is we'll breathe in coolness. So when we're breathing here, we're breathing in through our nose, if our nose is unblocked enough. And when you feel that in-breath, when you breathe in, what I want you to do is feel the coolness of the breath as it goes in through your nose, and you can actually feel it against your skin. So what we're doing here is bringing our sensory awareness to our nose and the mucous membrane in our nose. And when we feel that air movement, that coolness of that air movement, that has an important feedback on our brain and actually in itself can cool us down. So when we breathe in coolness. And when we breathe out calmness. Calmness is a very important part of breathing out, exhalation. When we breathe out, the vagus nerve gets employed slightly more. So every out-breath, our blood pressure and our heart rate just slightly drop. And every in-breath, they come up very, very slightly. This is to do with brain, heart, the way it controls itself. It's a very subtle thing, but the vagus nerve is very important in slowing down heart rate, regulating blood pressure. So let's breathe in coolness and breathe out calmness. And just do this for a few seconds. Now, what I'm wanting us to do here is to bring our energy gently back into us. So what we've done is we've stopped movement externally. We're sitting quiet, we're sitting still. That immediately calms our system down. Once we start breathing and settling, we can start to calm down. Now, what can happen as you start breathing here is you start to feel that irritation that's in you, that heat. What we tend to do when we're hot, we're overheated, is we tend to meet that heat, that energy. So we raise ourselves up. We become agitated. Agitata, in Italian. We become an agitated state. So we need to just settle this agitation down by what? By allowing it. We just allow the fact that we're feeling agitated and keep our awareness on this coolness of our in-breath and this calmness of our out-breath. So we're pulling our energy in. Now, what I want us to do is to use our exteroception, meaning our external senses. our eyesight, our vision, our hearing, our feeling, and allow those senses to come back in. So using, first of all, with your eyes, look into the middle distance and then bring your awareness of your eyes back into your body. It's a subtle trick. Just try it. It actually makes sense when you do it. And that just pulls your energy back in. Same thing with our smell. Smell, and then bring that energy back into yourself so it's quiet. It meets this quiet place inside you. Same with our hearing. So what we're doing is we're pulling our senses back into us, and we pulled our energy into us. Now, when we meet agitation, we first of all accept that it's there, allow it to happen, and observe it. But allowing it and bringing our awareness back to this coolness and this quietness in our breath. After a few minutes, things should start to quieten down in there. And you should start to feel a little bit of coolness. Now, I just want you to, for a second, get a sense of your skin. And even when it's hot and airless, get a sense of the coolness that's in the air surrounding us, and feel it generally on your skin. It's there even in the desert. You can feel this. That's it. So what we want to do is allow this sense of quiet, coolness to proliferate. What I want us also to do is to recognize that thoughts, feelings, and emotions are energy that pushes us out there. So we bring those back in. We allow everything to get quiet and calm and cool. We're not meeting the heat. We're going behind it into the coolness that's behind it. Now, when everything has come to a point of quiet, a sense of stillness can come. Actually, we're surrounded by stillness all the time. It's always here. Just feel that. Feel that stillness that surrounds us. Even if you don't feel still on the inside, it's there and it holds us. And as it holds us, it can quieten us. We're very safe in that place, actually. Now, here's another little trick. From this place, just get this feeling, this felt sense that you're having a cool shower. What does it feel like that there's a cool shower above your head and it is going all over your body, and it's got cool, gentle water that's cleaning you and cooling you out? That's nice. And that brings a lovely felt sense, a real sensory perception of cooling quietness. So now hopefully you're feeling quiet, you're feeling still, you're feeling cool. What I want to do is now we can go back to our activity. And as we move, I want you to feel, even in a desert, you can feel this. As you move, you can feel the coolness of the air against your skin. And let that coolness of the air against your skin as you move create, even in the stillest of days, and there is no wind, the movement creates this movement of cool air around you, and feel it and tune your awareness into it. That's very important if you can feel that on as much of your body as possible, because it cools you and it brings our attention to the skin, which is very important in cooling us. So we can actually get on with our day in the hottest place and the hottest time by coming back to these important areas which we've learned from nature, actually, to minimize the outflow of energy, keep everything quiet and gentle on the inside. Just an important thing I wanted to mention at the end, which is really important. As I said earlier, the elderly and children find it harder to thermoregulate, to temperature regulate, and they can overheat. The easiest, simple way with a child who has a little bit of a temperature or is overheated, or an old person who is finding it hard to thermoregulate, is to put your feet in cool water. It just drops your core temperature that little bit, and it can be really important when it's actually far too hot. And I say this to people all the time. It's very important when it gets too hot just to keep that internal coolness and put your feet in cold water. It works so easily. Anyway, I hope this helps. I hope this helps you, Mia Bella, and best wishes to everybody.